There we go. We are now joined by Aric Almirola, driver of the number 10 Smithfield Ford Fusion for Stewart Haas Racing, getting ready to compete in one of the marquee events in the NASCAR schedule this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Aric, how excited are you to be headed to the Brickyard?
Really excited. It's a place that just has a special meaning for every race car driver. Anybody that loves motorsports or racing has grown up watching the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500. And then, when NASCAR decided to go to Indy and start the Brickyard 400, it is just such a special event. And to see at that time the biggest icons in our sport just craving to win at that track, like Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt, and Dale Jarrett, all those guys, you knew that it meant so much, and that has just bled through to the rest of the industry. And as guys come up into our sport, like myself, that grew up watching the Brickyard 400 and knowing how special that was for NASCAR to get on that historic racetrack and put on an event, it certainly makes it one of our crown jewel events.
Good deal. Well, we're going to open the floor up for questions. If you have a question for Aric, please click the participants icon and raise your hand. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Our first question is going to come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead with your question, Bob.
Yeah, Aric, after 11 races, you were up on the bubble just 16 points. Now, 4 races later, you're up 104 points. So I'm just curious, can you quantify just what that means to have that type of cushion, to go from being that close to being on the bubble to now having a little bit of a cushion?
Well, it certainly feels a lot better, I can tell you that. I've told several people this, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but from the beginning of the year, when my crew chief, Mike Bogaravich, and I sat down, we talked about goals, and we have a list of goals, but one of the high priority goals for me when I saw the schedule come out for this year was to make Daytona not matter. I want to go to Daytona and not have that anxiety or that pressure to either have to try to get into the playoffs, or that you have just a slight points cushion and you're trying to be conservative and preserve, but then you're worried about guys behind you in points, collecting a lot of stage points from being aggressive and or winning the race. It's just not a place I want to be in. I think that would be a terrible place to be in. And some people are going to be in that spot. And I've told Booga that one of my goals on our list of goals was for that to not be a spot that we are in. So I feel good about the position we're in currently. We've had really good cars this year, and we went through a string of 4 or 5 races that were just awful. Things happening, some of it our own fault, bad pit stops, loose wheels. I've made mistakes. We've had part failures, batteries go dead, alternators. So to finally turn the corner and go to Homestead, run top 5, finish 5th, then go to Talladega, finish 3rd, and then go to Pocono and leave there with 2 top 5s and a lot of points from winning a stage and 2nd and 2 other stages. It feels good, and it certainly shows our race team what we're capable of.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Claire B. Lang. Go ahead with your question, Claire.
Thank you. There's word today that an IMSA driver, Philippe Nasser, has the COVID and has to quarantine, right? How much do you think about, man, I am just going extra to make sure that as I'm on a roll right now, I stay safe and healthy so that nobody has to get in my ride,
Yeah, it's something I think about every single day. I think most of our society thinks about it. Sure, the natural urge is to just want to carry on with our life and go be normal. But the position that we're in, this is our livelihood. This is how I feed my family. And so having to have a 14-day quarantine is not ideal, not only for me personally, but just for my race team, for my sponsors, my partners, everybody. So it's something that I think about, and that I'm aware of, and I do the very best that I can, to practice all the proper things to prevent getting it. And at the end of the day, there's still a chance. I don't know. I don't think anybody really 100% understands how people contract it, or how it is. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people are asymptomatic. Some people, it devastates them. There's so many unknowns about it that I think that's what makes everybody so nervous. But for me, I try and practice all the right things, wash my hands, keep distance, stay home when I don't need to go somewhere, don't go out for no reason. But I also want to be a human being. I want to live my life. I've got 2 little kids. It's really hard to keep them cooped up all the time. So we have to do our best to navigate it.
And what's the rush of racing Indy? I know the fans is the number one part of it, and they won't be there. But what's the rush of racing the track?
Passing that yard of bricks. It's unexplainable. But for a race car driver, and for me personally, going across that yard of bricks and knowing that so many people have passed over that same yard of bricks, and that there's so much history. I mean, there's no racetrack that you go to like there is at Indy, where you can almost feel like ghost and spirit are like watching over the racetrack. I mean, they're all the way back from, I guess it's the early 1900s. It's just a very special place, and it's where people have always aspired to race at. And so to have that opportunity makes me feel very fortunate and very blessed.
Well, good luck on continuing your role this weekend at Indianapolis. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Dustin Albino. Go ahead with the question, Dustin.
Yeah, Aric, kind of off Bob's question. 4 straight top 5s and the points cushion you've built. Where is your confidence level at compared to before this recent run of races?
High. Yeah, high. And I think all of my guys on my team and Boga, my crew chief, we're all in the same boat. That's the crazy thing about our sport, is that you go through these waves, and the highs are high and the lows are sometimes low. And yeah, we went through a stretch of, I feel like it was about 5 races where things just did not go our way. And we were just beat down. But one of the things that I was most impressed about with this team, and remember, this is a brand new team for me starting at Daytona. So just getting to know the group of people and the guys and Boga, my crew chief, I was unsure of a lot of things, and their personalities being one. But I've been so impressed with going through that stretch of bad races and just seeing the way that my guys continued to keep their head up and keep fighting, and stay with a positive attitude. Sure, we're fierce competitors, and we would get mad and we would get upset when we weren't finishing the way we felt like we were capable of. But to see the fight and determination and grit in my race team was really powerful for me. And then when we finally flipped the script and started finishing like we were capable and like we were running, it's just been really nice to see that kind of reward for our race team.
Thanks, Aric.
Our next question will come from Daniel McFadden. Go ahead for the question, Daniel.
Yeah, Aric, I didn't realize until this morning that the stretch of 4 top 5s you've had in a row is the first time in your career you've had consecutive top 5s in the Cup Series. Is it hard for you to believe that it's taken like this long for you to put this kind of stretch together? And how has this 4-race stretch felt different for you compared to, previous stretches of your career?
Just that level of consistency. Previously in my career, when I was at RPM, we went to the racetrack just trying to run top 15. and occasionally things would go our way, or we would get the strategy right, or we would just have a really good car and we would run top 5. And those weekends were great, and we cherished them. And we even won a race and put the 43 car back in victory lane, something it hadn't done in over a decade, before we were able to do that in 2014. So, you know, I have a lot of proud moments at RPM from a lot of those top 5 finishes, but they were not a reality or an expectation to be something that we consistently do. And then I got to Stewart Haas Racing, and it was something that was a level of expectation of the organization. And, you know, the first year there, we had so many opportunities to win races and to run top 5. And again, I just felt so snake bit. You know, we would do it and we would run top 5, and then the very next week we'd have a car that would lead laps and run up front, and something would go wrong. And it was just like, man, when, if ever, am I going to consistently run in the top 5 and compete to win races week in and week out? And that is it's a process, and it's a building process. It's a team thing. And then last year we struggled, especially for our expectations. But we struggled even as an organization, coming off of 2018 and then going into 2019, obviously with extremely high expectations, and to not meet those expectations was tough. And then this year to be, you know, with Booga and my whole new team, you know, we've had those level of expectations. We want to run top 5. And if we know that if we run top 5 consistently enough, we'll find ourselves challenging to win races. And it's been nice to meet those expectations.
Our next question will come from Mike Solarte. Go ahead with your question, Mike.
Thanks very much. Hey, Aric. Earlier this week, we talked to Kevin Harvick, and he said that the big thing that's really helped him to be the points leader has been continuity. There was no change with his team. They have been able to unload fast. They, you know, have that familiarity with working with one another. And you just said that you guys started off fresh at Daytona, and now you're climbing in the points. So what's clicking for you guys as a group that's helping you to unload quickly and unload well, I should say, without the benefit of practice and qualifying, that you put together such a nice run of late, and obviously you want to keep going?
Yeah, well, I think it really all just boils down to learning. When you have a new team and a new group of guys, and you're all working together, you have to learn so many things. You have to learn each other. You have to learn personalities. Booga has to learn what I like and don't like out of a race car. You have to learn, you know, how to be consistent, and you have to learn what not to do. And unfortunately, there's been several races where we've had to learn what not to do, and that, you know, creates some issues with consistency when you go through weekends where you don't have practice, and you don't have a great notebook to go off of, and then you show up with ideas and you know, assumptions, and it doesn't go right. Then you have to chalk that up as a weekend of learning, and file that away and remember that and learn from that. And so I feel like we've done a really good job of that the beginning part of this year, and we're starting to hone in on what we need, what I like out of the race car, and where we're at as a race team.
Thank you.
Our final question will come from Casey Campbell. Go ahead with your question, Casey.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Aric. You know, you talk about the crew chief change and all the things that have happened at Stewart Haas Racing. I know that the performances have been there, but you know, I know that Kevin's been winning, but what's been going on with the other cars, you think?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to win at this level. You know, you just look around the garage area, and see it all the time. You see guys get on hot streaks and win a lot, and then you see guys get cold and not win. We've seen that even this year with guys that won a lot last year, and even that won a championship and haven't won a race. So it's not easy to win, which I think makes what Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childress does even more amazing. They are really talented and really good at what they do. They have a great team. They have a lot of continuity, like Kevin talks about. And so that all transitions into winning races. And we have to get to that point. We have to get to that level. And it's not easy. It's not easy to run top 5 consistently. And we have, with the 10 team, have started to do that. And it's been nice. But you can't expect to win regularly until you can expect to finish top 5 regularly. And I feel like that's where the 4 car is at. They show up every single weekend and they expect to be in the mix because they have a proven track record of doing it. They have a great notebook, and Kevin and Rodney know what to expect out of each other.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Well, Aric, really appreciate you taking the time this morning. Good luck this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.